How much does John Boehner hate his job that he's just walking away from Congress? Answer, he is just miserable. This is a guy who reveres the institution of the House of Representatives, who grew up at his father's bar in Ohio, and his highest ambition was to be the Speaker. And then the day after meeting the Pope, because Boehner is a very devout Catholic, word leaks that he's out of there. Now, this came as a shock, and it came on a day when the Pope was about to speak at the United Nations on Friday, and all of the media were just stunned and chasing after Boehner. Was he going to speak and was he not going to speak? Because the expectation had been, everybody could see that John Boehner was in a very frustrating position trying to manage a dysfunctional House of Representatives, but the expectation had been he would at least serve out his term, maybe not run for re-election. But by pulling the plug, Boehner has made clear that the hardline conservative faction of his Republican caucus has just made it impossible for him to govern. This is a guy who's very conservative, although not sufficiently conservative, at least for some of his members, who likes to make deals, who likes to work with the other side, who respects the process. Boehner didn't want the government to be shut down in 2013. Boehner didn't want a lot of these confrontations that took place where he had to beg Nancy Pelosi to provide enough Democratic votes to get some bill through that Boehner and the Republican establishment favored. But Boehner could not persuade part of his caucus, which is angry and was elected either in the Tea Party wave or in 2014, to shake things up. And so it came to the point where I guess Boehner felt like, well, let's let somebody else do this. And it's incredible in this leaky city that this didn't leak out a lot sooner, because nobody in the press corps was expecting this. And I think things reached a point for John Boehner where he could have kept banging his head against the wall. He's facing another government shutdown right now that he, along with Mitch McConnell, are seemingly powerless to stop. You know, there's often a last-minute deal in these things, or the government shuts down and then a deal is made 2 weeks later, but not before putting the country through a very expensive and ridiculous process. And so after John Boehner became Speaker, you know, it seemed like he would rule that House with an iron hand, and they did all the, 30 or 40 votes to repeal Obamacare. That never got done because he always had to deal with the Democratic Senate as well as the Obama White House. But when Mitch McConnell took over, when the Republicans won the Senate, it seemed like finally the Republicans could get some things done. Maybe there was a few issues in which they could work together with President Obama, but instead it's basically been chaos. And one of the reasons that there's so much anger at Washington and that candidates like Donald Trump and Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina are able to capitalize on that is because it's utter chaos in that building behind me. I mean, nothing gets done. It's complete gridlock. They seemingly were almost unable to prevent the country from defaulting on its debt a couple years ago. So John Boehner is going to either go back to Ohio or become a lobbyist or whatever he decides to do, and he's going to hand this problem to somebody else. Now, he says, well, I didn't want the institution to be distracted by a messy leadership fight, but of course there will be a leadership fight to replace Boehner as Speaker. And so I guess good luck to him, and it is sad that a guy who devoted his career to reach this position and who is somebody who Democrats could work with found out in the end he could not deliver the votes on any big issue, and so he's calling it quits.